But we wanted to start with kind of a recap of yesterday, the good parts and the not so good parts.
Yeah, let's start with the not so good parts because we're cynical and it's more fun. There were a lot of national security state people banging the war drum for Joe Biden last night. It was really stunning. I
Love to see that.
Ambassador Yovanovitch from the impeachment hearings, who was so concerned that we're not funding arms in Ukraine and for proxy war with Russia that she wanted to impeach the president. Brett McGurk, the U.S. national security official who actually resigned because Trump wanted to pull troops out of Syria. Who else was up there? Colin Powell, right? Who talked about restoring honesty and integrity and world leadership,
just like he did at the UN.
Just like he did at the United Nations and set the war in Iraq going forward. Also, the man hasn't endorsed a Republican since 2004. And the last time he did was for a president who drove us into war. Really
that actually is a good point. That I feel like every cycle we act surprised when Colin Powell endorses the Democrat. It's like
Obama.
Yeah, and it's not. I mean, look, I know that there are lots of people out there who just have like a nostalgic, warm, fuzzy feeling about Colin Powell, but it again speaks to the utter lack of substance in our politics. Like, this is a person who lied to the world, making the case.
And
for
knew it at the time.
War.
Let's all be honest.
Knew and so like that person should not be welcomed into politics, let alone be celebrated and venerated as like a character witness. He certainly should not be making the case for what a amazing foreign policy people are going to have. John Kerry also, they went really heavy on the like respected abroad again messaging, which look. It does speak to a certain group of people. Again, the same sort of white, moderate suburbanites.
Who travel to Europe and they want to be able to get a beer in Paris without being embarrassed.
Yeah, or like, we need to be respected abroad again. But what that really means is look, I don't think this era ever really ended because despite President Trump's rhetoric, he hasn't really done much different on foreign policy. But there have been certain things that have been in a different vein. But what it really means is a fulsome return to the standard issue, national security state, imperialist policy. So we've cut together a little montage of some of those great respected abroad again moments. Let's take a listen.
This is the bottom line. Our interests, our ideals, and our brave men and women in uniform can't afford 4 more years of Donald Trump. Our troops can't get out of harm's way by hiding in the White House bunker. They need a president who will stand up for them. And President Biden will.
With Joe Biden in the White House, you will never doubt that he will stand with our friends and stand up to our adversaries, never the other way around. He will trust our diplomats and our intelligence community, not the flattery of dictators and despots. He will make it his job to know when anyone dares to threaten us. He will stand up to our adversaries with strength and experience. They will know he means business. I support Joe Biden because beginning on day one, he will restore Americans' leadership and our moral authority.
How important it is to have allies standing together with us. They are force multipliers.
Joe Biden has a unique ability to connect with people. He knows the leaders, and he's dealt with them for years, knows what makes them tick.
They trust him, they trust his judgment, and they know that his word is good.
I know that Biden's personal diplomacy will save American lives.
So hitting a lot of like resistance boomer erogenous zones there,
That's right.
I think is the way to put that.
And the way that really drives, remember, I think had him on the show, Jonathan Groyer at The Prospect, who wrote that phenomenal, like multi-thousand word piece about Biden and about all the people, many of whom pictured there, who would go back to work for him. These are the people at the very center of Iraq, of Afghanistan, about so much of what we've done in Europe, about letting China grow to where I didn't hear a single word about China from them, of course not. And their priorities are so skewed. Like what they want more than anything, the subtext of John Kerry, Colin Powell and them's speech is, President Trump is destroying our image abroad by even trying to withdraw from Afghanistan, right? He hasn't even done it, but even trying to do so. These are the people that they're going to team up with, trying to project across the world stage.
It's that, and it's the whole like civility as the utmost value and the return to the bipartisan consensus around foreign policy. And it is real civility because they actually do agree on a lot of things. But they elevate that as like that should be the end all be all. It's like the triumph of just theater over actual substance of what these people did and the decisions they were involved with, the ramifications of which we are still dealing with as a nation. And then you have to also juxtapose, which is important, like overarching theme of the DNC, who they choose to highlight and who they choose to hide and diminish. So on the same night that they give Colin Powell, roll out the red carpet for Colin Powell, AOC, not only does she only get 60 seconds, but it turns out it was just to nominate Bernie